What's up, everybody on YouTube? It's the NewDisconnecter here, back with another video. If my mic sounds a little different, maybe a little echoey or something, that's because I just got like an actual desk before. I was making all my videos just like sitting on my bed, and now I got an actual desk, so it's probably gonna be this for a long time. So get used to it. Anyway, welcome back to another No Man's Sky video. I have some bad news. I'm an idiot. Fun fact, and last night I was recording episode 2, or I was supposed to be recording episode 2 for No Man's Sky, but it turns out that I was actually recording Chrome. Playing my music while I was actually like playing the game, making a bit of progress, and not recording it. So yeah, that left me with two choices. Do I want to restart and save you guys the confusion about like what I might be talking about when I say, this and that, because, you just missed out on 45 minutes or so of recording? Or do I want to, do that? Restart, or just make episode 2 and hope that you just piece it together? I might make that sound worse than it actually is, but I decided to restart. So, because I already did it, it didn't take me another hour and a half this time to, get through the beginning phases with the toxicity, whatnot, and finding all the, hermetic seal or whatever. It didn't take me as long this time because this time I wasn't, I wasn't doing it for the first time. I already knew how to do it. So, I got to just about where I was at the end of where the recording should have stopped yesterday. So I'm going to be dividing this video into two parts. It's a pretty long recording. So the first part is me restarting and like doing that first thing on the first planet, and then the second part will be like where the first episode left off last time and where like the second episode should have started. And then I got like pretty much to the end of that. I got most of the progress that I made. I just have to find like a salvage data thing. You'll know what I mean later once I show you it. But that's about it. I have like a base going and stuff, but I might as well not spoil anymore. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to put timestamps in the description. So, intro, first part, second part, outro. So you can, if you really want to, then you can just feel free to skip to the second episode, so to speak, but I would still really appreciate it if you just watched the first one, because this also means that you don't really have to go back and watch the first episode that I made with the other game that I had to like kind of abandon. So you can feel free to like skip if you want, and yeah, enjoy the video, and I'll see you in enjoy the video. Thank you.
Commencing assistant suit initialization. Life support systems activated. Shield kinetic system online. Aerial propulsion jetpack online. Multi-tool and mining laser attachment operational. User initialization sequence complete.
Back in No Man's Sky, the beautiful toxic landscape of No Man's Sky. I really missed it. That was a lie. Anyway, I I did all the stuff that I did in episode 1, like I said. So, I started off with collecting some of that sulfur, sodium, and ferrite dust and um, carbon, things like that. Just because I knew from experience now that I would need plenty of it later. So I would just go around collecting a bunch of different materials, but I started with the scanner here, so um, ferrite dust is what I was getting first. It also felt weird not having like an analysis visor and things like that, just to like kind of look around. I like started over, and even though I didn't make very much progress in the long run, like in the first game, it still felt kind of weird not to have the progress that I did make. But like I already said, it didn't take me as long, luckily, to do all that stuff again. So yeah, I'm just gonna be gathering some ferrite dust and some other materials so that I can fix my scanner, look around for sodium, and eventually I'm gonna find the starship. I found my starship pretty quickly, and then, I clicked on the iteration thing, got my glowing red sphere, told me all the stuff that I heard in the first episode, so I skipped through it pretty fast, broadcasted whatever, and now I was just gonna have to repair the starship, and I would pretty much be good. So I began on doing that again. But really quickly, listen, I had to name my planet again, and this time I didn't fuck up and name it the default thing. So I gave it a very appropriate name, added it to my wonders, which apparently change every game, and I also renamed the ship to the Cruiser Part 2. Now I'll go look for resources and fix the starship. So first thing I went looking for was some DI hydrogen jelly for my launch thrusters. Technically, the game wanted me to start on the pulse engine first, but I already had some metal plating, so I decided I would just grab some DI hydrogen jelly for both now and later when I need it for some random out-of-the-way crafting recipe, and, I didn't have any left. So I grabbed this whole group of clusters, and then I went back to my starship to go put these in and put my metal plates in for the pulse engine. Next, I went to go not make the same mistake I made last time. In case you didn't watch the first episode, I made the mistake of not going back to the star signal because I wanted to go looking for things instead of, doing the actual task. And I ended up spending most of my recording looking for the hermetic seal, which was next up on the list. So instead of doing that, I went to go get my little map thing that they gave me, planetary chart. That's it. So that I could just keep going and hopefully get to my hermetic seal in a relatively quick fashion. I mean, after all, at this point, I wasn't that like far into the recording, and I was like pretty happy at the time that I was making. um, while doing all of this stuff. So I used the planetary chart. It did its little map thing, and now there is this little star signal which I went to go chase. The other thing that happened last time was I started chasing it, and it just gave me this like storm thing in the middle of it, and it was like super hard, right? It gave me a storm, and I had to like go back. And last time I made it to my starship, but this time the story went a little bit different.
Toxic protection.
I wish when I said that the story went a little bit different, I meant that there was no storm and it was just bad timing last time. But you remember how I said that I made it to my starship? Yeah, that's the part that's different. I travel a little while and oh, would you look at that? It's a nice toxic storm critical weather bad air warning. Get the fuck out of here. And that was just tremendous to see. I literally like sat down and prayed or some shit before I went to go look for this, that this wouldn't happen, and whoop de doo it did. The thing though is that I couldn't like really keep track of my starship, and again I played like for a good hour and a half with that um, deleted Chrome recording. So I got really used to being able to use my analysis visor to like have the starship waypoint anywhere I want. So once I realized that I don't have that yet, because I'm traveling towards the place where I get the analysis visor, I was I freaked out, right? So I just tried to head backwards. I didn't find the starship. This was scary as hell, and I swear I was like preying on the amount of sodium that I had that I didn't die, cuz I never made it to the starship, and I actually like overshot it because it said that it was like 800 units away when I started at my starship, and by the time the storm had cleared, it was like 1200, so I missed it somehow. I don't really know how. I don't really want to go through that again. But yeah, that was pretty scary and was almost dying. I almost died. That was almost the end right there. Just because I couldn't find my starship. I got greedy or whatever. I got too used to having the analysis visor on me, so I guess that's what I get. But then, of course, the storm eventually cleared. It doesn't take that long for it to do so, and then I just went back on my journey, and eventually I made it there, and I did my things like get my hermetic seal and my analysis visor, and I tested it, and then, went back home with the starship symbol this time. The navigation thing is very important. Now that I was here, safe and sound, back home, I put in my hermetic seal, and there was only one more thing left to do, which was to get some pure ferrite. Now, I remember the thing for this from last time, and you have to press Z, open up your build menu, get this like portable refiner thing, find a place to put it. And then you can power it with some carbon, throw in some ferrite if I want to here. Okay. Maybe get some more ferrite, just in case. Because, you need a certain amount. Yeah, throw in some ferrite, and then it should just create some processed ferrite, pure ferrite for you, and then you can just middle click with it, pick up your carbon, pick up it, and well, just like that, just throw in some of your pure ferrite into the thing. And then I also healed it with it starts at 50%. I also fix that up with tritium and launch jelly stuff, both of which I'm pretty sure I found at like random pieces of machinery throughout the landscape that I just decided to open up real quick. And then, you know, you can basically just launch from there. So I did. Feels good to be back in the air again now, doesn't it? I finally escaped my planet after much less time than last. It was around 45 minutes instead of, what was it, like an hour and a half, I think, last time. I don't really remember that well. And now I was going to go to what was that hostile planet with those centennials on it from the end of last episode. So I guess I'll just put my timestamp here at 16 minutes and 28 seconds. So if you skipped part 1, I have a grudge against you now, but welcome back to part 2. We just launched out of the sky, and now we're going to go to that second planet. You know, we're going to get that signal here, and we're going to be going to a second planet. As you remember at the end of first episode, if you did watch the first episode, we had a little encounter, you could say, with some centennials, some flying robots on the Paradise planet that we were landed on. It didn't really go very well. You know, I kind of had to run away like the pussy I am. So this time I was ready to not hit them in the first place because they seemed fairly peaceful as long as you didn't, you know, try to burn them alive with a scanner. So I found my coordinates, went to my planet, only to realize that it was the same one. It was the planet that I had just left instead of a different one. Even though I really didn't want to, I still came back. You see, in the last episode of part 2, they really wanted you to like do a lot with this planet that you got the coordinate from. So if that meant, you know, last time it was a Paradise planet, that meant that I could breathe without having to worry about toxic protection. I really don't want to have to worry about toxic protection while I'm doing all the stuff that they want me to do, which is probably going to take quite a while, maybe even like a majority of the game, but again, I mean, I haven't played that much. Anyway, it has you look for the signal using your analysis visor, which you do like this. You find when it has like its little signals in the middle, and then you just kind of go in that direction for a little while until you eventually find something. That thing was this familiar looking piece of damaged machinery. I clicked on it, it did some logs or whatever, and then it gave me one new thing to add to my build menu, which was a base computer, and another thing to add to my multi-tool, which was a terrain manipulator. With those now in my inventory, I headed back to my starship, and I installed the terrain manipulator into my multi-tool. The terrain manipulator, however, required carbon nanotubes to actually, work and be fixed. So I made them, of course, and put them into my terrain manipulator, along with some of that DI hydrogen jelly that I was preparing for earlier. Now, the next thing it wanted me to do was to gather copper with the terrain manipulator. What the terrain manipulator does is allow you to actually, well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It allows you to manipulate the terrain. So instead of just mining certain objects, you were able to actually, like dig holes and tunnels or just change the terrain in some way. But that also meant that you can now dig up more things. So, for example, you could find like a reserve of some kind of copper or, some other element that you wouldn't be able to mine with your normal, laser gun thing, but you can with the terrain manipulator because it's part of the ground, and that's why it's like necessary. So I went over to what I thought was the nearest copper deposit, and I mined all of it, and then came back. Then once I got back, it wanted, with the copper, for me to put down my terrain manipulator or not my terrain manipulator, my portable refiner, and use that to turn the copper into chromatic material, whatever the hell that means. So I threw it in my portable refiner, and I made all of the chromatic material that it wanted. Now, with said chromatic material, it wanted me to deploy a base computer. Now, in case the name wasn't obvious enough, a base computer implies that wherever you place it, you're going to be placing your base that I can only assume is going to be your base for most of the rest of the game there. But do I really want to do it on not only my first planet, but also this, like, toxic hellhole of a planet? No, I don't. So I decided to leave again because, technically, it doesn't say that you have to place it at some star or some specific place or on this one planet or this other planet or whatever. It just says make sure you place that down. So I decided I would try to find another paradise planet because as long as I didn't shoot the robot and as long as I would be chill, then I would pretty much be golden. I could breathe the air. The worst weather is just a really hot, superheated storm. The paradise planet is like the way to go. Right? That's what I thought until I started scanning some planets and found that there were no paradise planets in the solar system. So, instead, I settled for a hexagon planet because it looked like it had the best stats. It was still, kind of concerning, and I was still a little bit worried about it, but, no paradise planet. The other ones didn't look very good compared to the hexagon planet. I don't even know what the hexagon planet means, so I decided to go try it out. I went over to it and landed on it, and the name made sense. It was covered in hexagons, a hexagon here, a hexagon there, a hexagon nearly everywhere. There aren't many things that aren't hexagons on the hexagon planet, but I suppose that's why they call it a hexagon planet, so yeah. Now I had to decide if I wanted to live here. After a couple minutes of debating and maybe like a quick piss or something, I decided, no, I don't think so. So I decided to leave the hexagon planet and search for a better one. And that's when I realized that I was actually wrong, blind, deaf, or something else because I found the paradise planet. So I decided to go head to that instead. Now, I was hoping here that I wouldn't run into any of those sentinels from the last one. And, Well, at the time, for the rest of the recording, I'll just say I did not. I got a pretty nice landing spot. It was a little area that had a little body of water, like lake thing next to it, and this big golden base thing, which I went to go explore. And I didn't really find much, but it was still like a cool thing to have. And for a second there, I was pretty worried that this thing would be like a sentinel base that I just like landed right next to, and that meant that I would be like for sure screwed. But it wasn't. It was just like some sort of thing. So I made sure to appropriately name it, and now I could deploy my base computer. So I did. I pressed Z, accessed my builder's menu, and I deployed the base computer. It asked me if I wanted to claim a base, so I chose yes. It scanned the land again, gave me a little like notification, star thing, and then it asked me to extract plans after I went back into it, which I chose yes, and it allowed me to access timber things like walls and roofs, floors, right? But when I went back out, that star wasn't there anymore. So I think it was just the base computer, like that's all it was, but I don't know for sure. And maybe that was the wrong move, but we'll see. For now, I get to continue building my base, or I get to start building my base. So when I press Z, it now doesn't just have my portable refiner and base computer. It also has, all of these like timber things that it just gave me, like an angled door, a roof, a wall, floors, things like that. So I just decided to get building. I was it costs like some carbon or ferrite dust or like some stuff to build each of the things. So I had a bit of that from, mining on the first planet, so I didn't really think about it. So, I made like a pretty big floor because, I wanted a big house. It sounded nice until I ran out of carbon. So I was pretty sure I could find something as simple as carbon on this planet. So, I went and I did. And I got enough carbon along with some other materials like ferrite dust in order to be able to make my whole floor, all of my walls, and especially my roof and my angled door, which allowed for me to make a really nice house for a base. The other thing that happened was a superheated storm, which was the first bit of like weather really on this planet that wasn't, nothing. And I was able to just wait it out in the starship, and I assume that I can be able to wait something like this out in my base once I get an actual, roof and, like a good shelter and not just a floor plan. But first, the game, I went back to my base computer, right? Because I remember from the first recording that I could rename my base. But then it gave me a different task. It wanted me to build a construction management unit thing, which required magnetized or pure ferrite or whatever. A magnetized ferrite that I put pure ferrite into the refiner to make. So I placed my refiner down, went off and collected some ferrite to turn into pure ferrite that I could then put it into the refiner again to turn it into magnetized ferrite so that I could make my construction build like thing, right? So I made the construction research unit, I placed it down, and I asked it for, like, build construction, like, blueprints or whatever. It didn't really do much, alright, honestly. The only thing that it showed me was, like, a locked thing. So I just went back to building my base. I got a couple walls in, and, after just, like, a bunch of mining of, carbon, ferrite, other materials, I was able to get walls, a roof, and my door And I also figured out that that was what I used to rename the base. So I named it a very good name, a very appropriate name, a very nice, elegant, just beautiful name. And, well, I mean, I had a base now, right? I finally finished it. The temperature was nice inside, and because of my original base computer, it was like a part of the game, right? It would tell me when I entered it, when I exited it, and I was pretty happy with it. So yeah, I mean, I had a pretty nice beginner base. I haven't really looked at like advanced bases yet. I don't really know what that looks like, but for now I was happy with what I had. I put down some lights and I was able to plant a flag. So yeah, I mean, I basically had my own base, I had my own territory, I had my own planet, and I thought that was pretty good for episode 2, especially given the fact that I had to, re-record all of that. The only thing that I was missing that I was able to throw in the original episode 2 was I dug up salvage data. I used my terrain manipulator, and I don't really remember when I did it, but I remember needing more towards the end, and then just deciding, hell, I'll do that next episode, right? So I didn't get to that, and I'm getting to the point where I really need that to like move on with the game. So that'll be task number 1 for episode 3, I suppose. But I mean, with that, I thank you for watching, however much you did watch, and well, I mean, thank you for watching this channel. Please consider liking and subscribing. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of No Man's Sky, second episode. Thank you, Joshua. You have an epic name, because I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong or not. But I couldn't let you down, so I just crunched a bunch of time at like 2 in the morning every day to get this released on the 14th. So this is for you. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over.